Awesome. Hey, we're back. We're here. We got a special episode today. Quick note, Mikey is behind the camera today. His voice is a little hoarse, so we have Jen Munoz in today.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being patient with me as well.
Of course, patience is a virtue.
I am very appreciative of that. So yeah, again, fun fact, Jen was our very first guest on our sound podcast, our audio podcast. And now she's our very first in-person guest, which again I thank you for and I appreciate. And we got to catch up. It's been a while.
We do. It has been.
Do you remember exactly how? Like over a year since we've spoken to you?
I don't remember.
It was during the pandemic. It was literally. It's fine. It was during the I just remember it was during the pandemic, where everything was kind of like closed down, and that's when we started the podcast. And I reached out. So I think it was around that time you guys were trying to figure out your season. You know,
that's right.
I think it was going into your last season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
So just a little bit of that. You used to play with Club America, which most of the fans know, and some of our viewers follow us that know you, and they ask. So now tell us, what is it that you do now? What are you diving into? What are you experimenting with? What are the things that Jen is involved in now?
I mean, I'm really blessed to say that I'm still involved in the soccer community. I think my career is kind of leading me towards that path. I'm just doing little projects here and there. Working with 110, talking about Angel City, which is like the new pro women's team here, super cool. And then I have my own little show that I created that's coming out tonight. So that's super fun. It's just, talking about athletes kind of off the field, because I'm a big advocate for, people, or like athletes are more than just athletes, they're people too, most importantly.
Right. Cool.
So yeah, just little projects here and there.
I'm excited for that. You got some of your teammates, right? One of your first, says your old teammates from Club America. How did you go about thinking about doing that? What dawned on you? What was the day like? What did you just woke up one day? You're like, I want to do this, or like, how did you make that go about for you?
Well, I think with my career, I want to go down that sports broadcasting path, so it was perfect for it. And I don't know, I don't remember how I thought about it, but I think it just kind of goes hand in hand with my career. And whenever I want to do something, I get it done.
You do.
A huge thing.
That's true. That's good. That's dope. No, I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see that. I know some of your old players that will be on the episode, which is cool. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited I'm excited to see like players, footballers that, dive into the other side of the world than just soccer. Because I'm sure you know how it is. It's a different dynamic. Basically I'm asking right now is like, how do you feel the dynamic of preparing from a soccer game and the whole season to something like this? Like, do you see yourself in a different mode? Do you see yourself growing differently? Of like, okay, like I'm tackling things differently, like I did when it was a professional atmosphere as a soccer player. How do you go about that?
That's a great question. I actually have never thought of that recently, but yeah, it's a great question. I think definitely very different going into a soccer game. I've played soccer my whole life, so it kind of comes not natural, but I know my routine. I know what I need to do before the game, the day before, but I think with this new path that I'm on, I've definitely had a lot of challenges, but I feel like I see myself growing as a person and as a professional too. And I think I'm just really happy to be learning a lot of new things in life too with this path. But yeah, definitely prepare for it very differently. I think with sports broadcasting, you have to be like on your toes. You have to kind of build relationships too. And I think with soccer, you go on the field, you play your heart out for your team, for your family, for your friends, for yourself. And then off the field, obviously you have to take care of yourself. But with this, it's kind of just, you have one show, you have one question, like it better be really good to excel. Right. So I don't know, with me, I try to do the best in everything that I'm currently doing. And I try to be really present. So I think being present is what helps me.
That's good. And you have a good presence. I've been around you a few times. Like you have a good presence and I feel like you understand what you're doing on what's in front of you. Mm-hmm. And that's cool. I like I said, I've supported you. I like everything you're doing. I appreciate it that you're here. With that being said, how have things been for you personally or in general since that decision, put like hanging up the boots? Like how do you look back and say like, okay, like did you make the right decision? I'm sure you did, but like, did you feel like when you look back, okay, I'm glad, or sometimes I miss it? Like, how are you seeing it now? It's been like almost a year or so, right? More than that.
Yeah, I think it's been. I was actually just looking at my Snapchat memories, and I remember,
Oh wow,
like I think a week ago, I like called the manager and I was like, listen, like this is my last year. And I literally have like a Snapchat of me like crying. But looking back on that, it's just shows like I did make the right decision. I know that for a fact. I do miss it, but that's really normal in sports. It was a big part of my life. But thankfully, I'm still involved with the club.
Yeah.
They still welcome me back with open arms, and I'm still in contact with the girls. And I think the friendships are probably the most important thing I took away from playing pro, and just like all the places I've traveled to and the people that I've met. So, yeah, I made the right decision for sure.
Oh yeah, I think we were talking like when we met. You know, I was watching your games. Like I tell the other girls, like I told Eva, I told Joss, like I watch you guys. Like I became fans, and I was literally watching and waiting for every game. So the day you told me, I was just like, no, I don't know if you remember. I was like, no, and then you're like, no. I made I took a long time to think about it.
Of course.
And then I remember I was just kind of like, okay, you know, I get where she's coming from just knowing you for that small period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And now looking at it and being around you and just following you on Instagram and social media, like obviously there is a right decision that you made. There's just a fan side of me like, oh, I wish I could still see, you know what I mean? Like there's fans that are gonna be like, oh, we still wish you were back. You know, they don't get, they might not like invest in it more. Get deep dive in it of what exactly is your career and your path, because you're human, mm-hmm. And most fans are just like, you know, we get it, but we still wanted to see her. So that fan side, I get that
all the time in the comments, like,
right?
Why did you retire? I'm like, well, I could explain a whole paragraph to you, but I don't think I'm going to.
So hopefully you watch the podcast so you guys can understand, right?
Yeah.
So, but I would just remember like it would when I watched some of your games, oh great, like oh she's doing good again. But yeah, there was the fan side of me was just like, oh, but no, I truly believe and understand the dynamics of like this whole new generation of content creation, of just new media, different kind of media, direct media, owning your own thing, doing your own thing yourself. You know what I mean? Like you said, your new show, you're doing it yourself. So it's just something like I think most current footballers that are younger now generation like are understanding that they can dive into that as well. Because back then, media wasn't as big as it was when I was like your age or even younger than that. You know, because I grew up in the age where like MySpace came out. That was the time where like I was a senior. I was like, MySpace. I
secretly had a MySpace.
I remember you mentioned that. I was listening to our old podcast.
Found it. Yeah.
So it's like in my generation, we grew up building those things for all this young generation to like thrive on it. You know what I mean? And I'm seeing that. It's like what I'm saying. Like I'm seeing someone like you take advantage of it, and that's awesome. You know, and so
Thank you.
What are your like thoughts on just social media in general with this aspect now? Because I know I asked you this question before, so I'm gonna try to ask it differently. Like looking at it from this outside in now as a way from a footballer to more as I don't know if there's an exact word, like a soccer ambassador, I guess is what we can say, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you see that now with social media and this type of media that you're like really diving into? Like, does it open up your eyes a lot? Are you getting a lot of information? What are you like just grasping? What are the things that you can tell me?
I would say I think the women's game is like growing a lot on social media, with especially in the NWSL. Obviously in Mexico it's huge, but I think here people are starting to realize, hey, women's soccer is pretty cool. It's pretty fun to watch. I know Angel City just had like 20,000 fans at the Bank of California Stadium, which is huge. But yeah, I mean, I think it's opening my eyes to just a new platform that I have to kind of spread the word about the women's game. But yeah, it's exciting. Dope.
And how do you, talking about the women's game, how do you feel, like I know you said it's growing, but like how do you feel, or where do you see the game going for the women's? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they finally got the equal pay, right? Is that what it was a while back?
With the national team, yeah.
With the national team, right? Mm-hmm. So like that's a step.
Oh, it's a huge step. Exactly. I think it was probably one of the biggest steps women's soccer has ever. That
was exciting. And how do you think that's a step, obviously in the right direction where it could flourish even bigger now, right?
100%.
Right? Because I mean, I've been diving into a little bit. I mean, it kind of just pops up. So then I kind of like, I wouldn't say it's a rabbit hole for me, but when things I see pop up on social media, I saw a lot of the the overseas teams? Because I know you have a friend that plays at PSV. We had her. And I can't say her. Annika.
You had her on. You didn't know her.
No, I can't say her name right. I was gonna say Anika. It's Annika.
Oh, a lot of people say that.
Right? Because even like, I remember when we had her on, I was like, "How do you say your name?" It's like,
Annika.
Annika. All right, that's my bad. No, I was looking at some of her games, and just the whole Europe thing. Like, I guess my question, like, what do you think the huge differences from each area, from Europe to out here in South America, North America, like the soccer type? Like, I'm not saying if you don't or do understand, but like, do you can see the differences of what both of them have? Because what I'm trying to say is like Europe soccer for men's, like, okay, it's the top tier, you know? And I think out here, it's kind of been the opposite, because the women's U.S. team always won every World Cup. But I guess what I'm saying is like, like Barcelona sold out Camp Nou for the women's game.
Yeah,
that's
that was
amazing.
Insane.
I think you were watching the game, right?
I was.
Were with you had a thing going on. You were watching the game, and that's just
football,
huge.
Yeah.
You know, so just give me your like thoughts on like, do you think from a girl's perspective, do you think the American side of football is a topper tier, or do you think it's kind of balanced?
I would say Europe definitely has a lot of more diverse players. I think here in the NWSL, I mean, you kind of get a mix too. I mean, I don't really see a huge difference like the men's, but both leagues are very good. They're very competitive. Everyone's a professional. Great atmosphere, great team, great organization. So I don't know. That's a good question. I can't really give you an answer for that.
Yeah, because again, I could be wrong, but I'm just looking at little clips here and there where like they want to try to bring in the Europe teams to play against the women's U.S. teams.
That'd be really cool.
You know, like again, I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw something a while back of they were trying to do something like that because of the levels of the competition and to grow the sport.
That'd be cool to see the matchup for sure.
Right, and that's what I guess that's what kind of drawn me personally into it more. Again, like I said it in the last podcast I had, you and your teammates, like you guys made me a fan of the women's side of the soccer.
That's amazing. That's
no, you guys really do it. Like, and I appreciate it. And it started from you. Like I said, I don't want to repeat myself again from the last podcast, but yeah, it started from you where I dived into like who you guys were and watching the game. Now, like again, it's going into the Europe side. I'm like, oh, who's this girl that's winning Ballon d'Or from Barcelona?
That's
like, who is this? Like,
that's awesome.
Like, I'm actually dived into like, okay. And the one reason is that I can like, I think, understand a little bit more why is because I just think of my niece, my brother's daughter.
Oh,
It's like I hope one day she gets to play.
Yeah.
And just so she's a girl. She's going to be on the women's side if it gets to that point. And whatever she does, it's going to be awesome. But I feel.
And she has great role models.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah. And
well, I was saying because like my teammates.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. Like I just kind of like entwine everything, if that makes sense. Like, oh, my niece, you guys, like I can just see it and stuff. And I think that's the reason why it's everything I'm like gravitating towards again more and more than ever. Because like I said in the last podcast, it's not that I didn't want to. It's just it wasn't grabbing my eye as much as like it was from just the U.S. women's always winning the World Cup. It's like from my perspective, I'm not speaking for everybody or even my brother. From my perspective, when I saw women's U.S. team always win, it was like, all right, cool. Like, well, they're going to win it again. Like, should I watch? It's not that I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. It was more like, oh, wow, when they lost, I was like, oh, shit, another team won the World Cup. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay. So, like, something different was happening that drew my attention to the same thing over and over. Now, I don't want to sound contradicting because I could be happy that Real Madrid or whatever team my favorite player is on wins it like 5 times in a row. And I'll be happy with that. But on this side, it was more like, well, I don't have a fan or a team, or I don't have a player really. And like I said, you and your teammates were able to like put me there. Mm-hmm. Put me there. We're like, oh, cool. I can say, and my dad's going to get mad, I'm an America fan for the girl side. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an America fan for the girl side. But,
That's awesome.
So, yeah. No, I've seen it grow. And I'm sure, I guess I'm asking, like, have you seen that same feeling towards both sides? It's just that it grows almost every year.
In women's soccer?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said before, I mean, the women's game is growing everywhere, like everywhere in the world. And it's so cool to see just younger girls and obviously even younger boys wearing, the jerseys. Right. And it's just really cool. We're in a stage of our life where it's huge right now. I mean, Camp Nou, whatever, sold out like an insane amount, and it was such a good game too. On top of that,
there were some nice goals.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful to be there and
yeah, no,
watch.
Definitely. Well, cool. Let's see, what else has Jen been into just tell me a little about yourself, of like the difference of it now, like from leaving football. Like, what is your life aspect now? Like, what's that like now for Jen?
Definitely more free time. More free time. I get to see a lot more people, family, friends. I think I'm more kind of not. So when I was playing soccer, I was more of like wake up, eat breakfast, go to practice, weights, the routine, come back home, kind of not really do much because you want to rest for like the next day. But then now it's kind of, I have more of a freedom to do whatever I want to do. So I think that's really cool, and it's super fun for me to travel. I love traveling. I hate staying in one place for a long time. But yeah, it's fun. I'm enjoying myself a lot more.
Awesome. And what are the places you've gone to that you've never been to and you're like, oh shit, this got me here? Like,
I went to the Dominican Republic, beautiful place. I definitely would want to go back.
Oh, speaking on that just reminded me. You were on a competition show.
Mm-hmm.
For people that don't know, it's like a Hispanic Latin.
It's on Telemundo now, so it's
right. So what was that like? I was watching some of the clips. You look like you were killing it.
Thank you.
It's actually, yeah. You know what? Let's dive into that. How was that compared to preparing for a soccer game? I'm sure it's very different.
Oh yeah, I cannot compare it one bit. I mean, soccer. Like I said, soccer is just kind of like
you said, automatic for you.
Automatic.
Yeah.
And then with this, obviously, like the circuits were difficult, but not as difficult as the ending. So the ending, I don't know if you saw, but that's the most important part of the show. It's kind of like carnival games. So you have to throw stuff into, I don't even know how to explain it.
Like boxes, rings, and stuff.
Yeah,
I know. I was watching
that.
some of it. Yeah.
So going into the show, didn't really know what was going on. I mean, I was kind of going on it for fun, and it was a great time. But I do wish I watched more of the show so I could have prepared a little more. But either way, I think it was a really good experience for me. I mean, we didn't have a phone, no contact with our family, friends, nothing. Basically, you would wake up, eat breakfast, go compete for 4 hours, so film basically, and then come home, practice, eat, sleep, talk to your teammates. It was a experience for sure, but it was fun.
And yeah, I was watching some of the clips. It was very interesting. What was the toughest part about that competition for you?
The mental aspect. I think I'm a competitor, so going into the show, I was very kind of like, okay, like I'll try this out. We'll see how long I'm like in the show for. Yeah. But then after the first week, I was so bought into it. I was like, oh my God, like I need to win. I'm not losing. And then when I would lose, I would get super upset, which I never, in soccer, I was super calm. And I mean, we would lose sometimes, but that's just the game. But with this, I don't think I was really used to this individual competition. So when I lost, I really felt it. But then when you win, or when I won, it was like amazing. It was such a great feeling.
Right. So it's like a different type of feeling from soccer winning to that feeling. Yeah, I bet. I just lost my thought on that other question for it. Oh, no. How long were you there for? And like, was it, I'm pretty sure for anyone, it was nerve-wracking to not even be on your phone. Were you able to be on your phone? How was that lifestyle for being there? How long were you there for?
I think we arrived there December 17th, and then we got our phones taken away after Christmas, so the 26th. Honestly, not having my phone, it was actually really easy for me, which is surprising because you would think, I'm always on my phone, which I'm not, but people always think that.
Well, I mean, just from, I guess, a little bit from...
It's kind of like my job, basically.
Yeah, right. To be on your phone to get gigs and whatnot. Like,
exactly,
so it's kind of that part I get.
Exactly. But, I mean, they took our phones away, and then I was there for about a month and a half, I would say. So there was this thing that happened where I don't know. Right? Basically, I was there for a month and a half, and then came home.
That's not bad. A month and a half,
My dad called it phone rehab. So.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, and I was like, good one. Like, such a dad joke. But
I like dad. I wanted a TikTok. I'm just kidding.
No, definitely not.
Well, last time we spoke, how are you on TikTok now? Is that like a fade? Was that like, are you just like whatever? Because last time we talked, you were always on it.
Definitely on it. I mean,
but not as much as it used to be, right?
I mean, that's probably my favorite app, just because it's always kind of like there's always something new.
Yeah, there's always something you can do. Right?
Yeah, I love TikTok.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that was that one moment that you had in Dominican. What was other places that you've been to so far that you were just like, oh, this is cool?
I love Miami. It's beautiful.
Oh, Miami.
I love just like beach cities in general.
Yeah.
I'm a huge beach girl, so I love the water. I love the sun. Haven't been to any place where it's cold. I'm not planning on it, but I do love the sun.
Awesome. So this came up in my head. Going to the gigs that you do and the type of promotions that you do and the jobs now, like, how do you, for you, again, going off from soccer, we get it, it's automatic. How do you go now from like picking a gig or understanding what you want to do or someone pitching something to you? Do you take your time? What is your process? How do you dive into those things now that's kind of literally your life that's being consumed so much?
Mm-hmm. I think for me, I like to be authentic and genuine with what I post, just because if I was following someone and supporting them, I'd want them to be very genuine with me and like with what I'm saying or with what content they're posting. So that's why I kind of go along things. I mean, it's what relates to me in my life or what the brands that I like or I enjoy and I support. So kind of going off that, just being really like genuine and authentic with who I work with, or also that's a huge thing for me, like relationships. I think if I think they're a great person, then I'll work with them.
Oh, that's dope. That's cool. Okay. And then also like as that's going on, like how do you get the itch of just, I want to go kick the ball today with someone or with people? Like what does Jen just go to her with herself, or does she hit up people, or how do you find the time or when you want to kick the ball around still?
Yeah, I mean, I do kick the ball around every week, but I just kind of play pickup. I feel like it's a good workout too. I think it's a fun workout. I definitely big on fitness, big on staying healthy, but with soccer, I think here in LA, there's a bunch of pickup games, futsal. As far as like 11v11, it's kind of hard. I haven't really found one. So if any of you guys know, let me know.
I mean, all I know is Sunday leagues. I mean, but you want to do women's, right? I haven't seen that.
I can do men. I can make some.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying that all I know is the men's Sunday leagues that I'm still trying to go to. But that's dope. No, that's dope that you're still in it. I mean, I think it's just natural for footballers, you know what I mean? Or anybody that's in the sport. Like for me, it kind of like faded away after I got older. I was,
really?
Yeah, like after I left, because like when I played soccer and football my whole life, and I stopped in high school. My junior year, I stopped playing soccer and I just like devoted my time for football. Like that's where it got me to college and got me where I wanted to go. But after all that, like it took some time. It took me like, I want to say a good 4 or 5 years to be like, all right, I don't need to touch the ball anymore. I mean, if I do, I do. But, you know, I mean, every athlete, like I said, has that moment in time. Like, I still want to touch the ball. I still want to kick it, you know, like, yeah, that's cool. That's dope. Are we good in time? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, awesome. Moving on. I think I did have this one specific question. You know, I'll ask it now before I forget my thought. Now that you transitioned, I know the last time we talked on the podcast, and again, you can be as detailed or less detailed as you want. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say personal, but like, we want to know Jen. I want to know Jen's life now. Like, it's different from just soccer, because back then, like you said, it was soccer. It's like a profession. Now you have more freedom. You're obviously meeting more people. You're networking more people.
Especially here in LA.
Right. And
perfect for it.
I guess it's kind of like a 2 and 20. Like, do you get overwhelmed a lot? And do you feel like, I don't know if it's the same question, but do you feel like it's too much at some point? With just what you're doing now? Because like I said, you're meeting people, you're networking. Like, it's obviously different from soccer. So now it's more of like, oh my God, you're you. Like, do I remember that name? Or who are you? Like you're meeting so many people. Like, is it getting to, do you ever get overwhelmed? And how do you keep yourself focused? How do you keep yourself sane from that?
Yeah, I think at times it can definitely be overwhelming. But I think probably the best way to go about it is kind of like, everyone is a human. You're just building relationships. You're just having a conversation with them. I've definitely met a lot of people since I've been back. Yeah. And I'm so thankful for that, just because a lot of people are in the soccer world or in the fashion industry. Yeah. And it's just super cool to like hear people's stories and kind of how they got there, or everyone's always willing to just kind of like help too. And they always, ask me about my soccer career, which is super cool. And Some people have no idea, which I think is great too, because they don't ask.
Right.
But it's a cool environment to be in, and I like feel really inspired by like a lot of people too.
That's dope. Is there anyone that you met like celebrity wise recently, or just like, oh my god, I didn't know I was gonna meet you? Hey, I'm just curious.
No, not recently.
No, really? Oh, okay. Because I've seen you out at places.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you were just somewhere recently. Where were you again? Like,
this shoe surgeon. So they just launched their new studio.
Yeah.
That's where I play pickup on Tuesdays. Great people, great environment too. So it was Dominic's birthday, which is
right, the
head honcho.
The head guy.
Yeah, he's great. And, yeah, it was fun.
Dope. And what's Jen's dating life? What is it like? Again, I'm only asking this question because, again, I'm trying to wrap my head around your profession when you were a football player.
Right.
Footballer, from a girl's perspective. Because, again, I know some of your old teammates, and they're also in some type of relationship or didn't have a relationship. What can we get from a different aspect? There's differences there. So is it a lot easier, obviously, now than it was then? Is it more like, oh my God, also overwhelming? Or is it, what are the different dynamics of that aspect coming from a woman's perspective?
I think as far as dating, when I was in Mexico, I was in a different country, so it was kind of hard. But yeah, coming back, it's definitely a lot easier just because like I said, I have a lot more free time. So
I bet. Yeah, because again, you're meeting so many people, and it's just like a lot different from how it was from soccer. Cool. All right. Now, Jen, what are the things that you've really been proud of so far? Besides, and I'm talking about after America. So far, again, it's been almost a year since you've begun, right? Like, what are the things that you look back right now so far, been proud of, and like, I want to like probably evolve from that too, and do more things off of what I did here.
I think just my work ethic has gotten better, and just kind of like my focus on things that are important. So with like my career, I've really just kind of pushed myself out of my comfort zone and tried new things. And I don't know, I'm just really proud of like what I'm doing right now, and kind of I'm looking forward to see like where I go in the future too. So I think I'm proud of just myself in general for like getting to where I am today, and just like pushing through, not playing soccer anymore, and just new things actually. Yeah.
That's dope. And what can you say, like, again, I'm not going to end it here in that conversation per se, but there's like I said, there's a bunch of, like I said earlier, there's a bunch of like footballers that can. For Jen, what are you looking forward to? Again, a year has gone by. You've done a lot, for yourself, and I've seen it, and that's amazing. Again, what I was trying to say is like, how can you tell certain footballers that probably getting close to something similar to you, meaning like they want to hang them up and get into this? The reason why I asked that question is because I've grown up in a different field in my time, which was probably 10, 12 years ago. A lot of people weren't, I'm not saying friendly, but they didn't want to give a lot of information out. Meaning like you actually had to find a real mentor. And what I'm saying is like, what can you tell people like, hey, this is what it takes. You should try to do this, or you shouldn't do that. And like, because when I was coming up, like no one gave me like the ins and outs. I just had to learn shit from like doing it and figuring it out. And there's people that, want to, but are afraid. So I guess my question is like, what is it that you can say to anyone that's getting close to similar what you're doing? From the football profession, like going away from football profession mainly. So
I think, some of the girls have reached out, which I think is super cool.
Okay, good.
Just kind of asking me how it felt, what should they expect. And I think overall you're going to feel so many things when you hang up the cleats. Obviously it's been your whole life. I would just tell them like, don't be scared. It's exciting. The future is super exciting, and jumping into something brand new is what's going to help you grow as a person. And I think that's really important. And also like mentally, I think you just grow stronger from the experiences you had in soccer. So don't forget those experiences. Like you're not leaving soccer totally behind. Like you can bring that with you in your next career, in your next, day-to-day life. So I think don't be scared, get out of your comfort zone, be excited about the future, and also keep working hard as if Like whatever you put in, you're going to get. And that's the way I think about things. Like if I'm going to put in this half-ass like job, then I'm going to get half-ass stuff in return.
Right.
But if I work hard and give it my all, I'm going to get what I want in return.
Which is good. And I see that from you. Like I honestly have, I'm being honest right now. Like I've seen that. I've seen you put in the work. I've seen you put in the time.
Thank you.
You know, like even surprises me at times in a good way. Cause like, again, I was like, oh, like the show popped up out of nowhere. You were telling me about it. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Again, I didn't have all the information until I asked a little bit off the camera, but it's like, yeah, like, okay, cool. She's doing it herself. She figured out this X, and Y and like all that. Like she figured those things out. And it's like, wow, like,
yeah,
that's
I think
dope.
People forget, like, when you're playing soccer, it's like, oh, they just play soccer. But it's like,
right. No, like,
I do other things. I love business. I love getting, doing stuff.
We're human. And I guess, like,
exactly.
the fans, hopefully they appreciate and understand that. Because, like, like you said, like, I'm sure you get a lot of fans, again, like, from the time you left. Like, oh, why did you, like, I hope they understand.
All the time.
Yeah, like, so I said, like, hope they understand from this podcast that you're human. And you're going to evolve and grow. Like, there's going to be a time, this is so random and dumb for me even talking about, there's going to be a time where I'm not going to watch Cristiano play anymore. And he's the guy that I've watched for the past 15 years. And it's weird because it's like, I understand you're human, man. But and you're also not going to, you can't play forever, I think, but he's trying, which I have these debates with my brother still. And it's funny because he's still executing and putting up numbers and doing big things.
Yeah, maybe he'll play until he's 80.
Yeah. So like, it's funny because like, I think about the different things and I like the fact, again, that you're here and you're giving me that aspect of your life because it does put things in perspective just in generality. Even from my thing, I know this is a podcast of soccer and mainly about you right now. The transition that I'm going to go into too as well. Like what you just said kind of uplifts me for that, honestly. And I'm telling you directly right now, like
Love
it does.
That. That's what,
like
that's
I said,
what I'm here for.
that's what I said. And when I said to you earlier too, like you inspired me somehow to do something differently also when I talked to you in the car earlier. And it was just like, yeah, okay, like, I think things are just falling into place, and maybe that's how you felt at that one point. What things are falling into place, but that emotion obviously came out because, again, that was your whole life.
Exactly, and I feel like I found new passions and new things to get excited for, and it's just so cool to have new hobbies or just new ideas. And my mindset has changed a lot. I think I wake up and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do today that's going to benefit my life? Or benefit someone else's life. And I don't know, I'm just a big advocate for like, what are you going to make of your day? Like, you only have one life. And that's what I think about all the time. Like, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? Like, you're not going to have another life. Like, you only have one. So that's the way, that's kind of cheesy, but I mean, that's the way I think about things.
No, I'm actually taking this as like a deep, like, I don't even know the word, but just something deep that I'm coming from you. Like I said, I'm transitioning to something new for myself. And for you to say that, like, I'm literally like seeing it in my mind right now.
Yeah. Having a little TED talk right now.
Yeah. So like, I appreciate that. And that's the thing that I also appreciate that you're here and you can be talking about that. It's that I hope viewers and others that watch, it's like, she's a human being. She like, she's here in the flesh. Like I met you, like you're here. So like I can feel the energy of like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like it's like, yo, like this, this girl can like impact me in some way that I didn't think that would help benefit me in a good way.
Nice.
In my mind. Cause like, again, what you do now from what I saw you do when I met you is a whole different thing. And it's still both impactful. You know what I mean? Like I said, you drawn to me and your teammates to watch soccer. Mm-hmm. Like I said, like it opened up my eyes even more and like to even like ideas to look at that. Even now that you change that dynamic to something new, I was able to still feel that similar impact. Like, yo, this girl is actually doing something in a way that I understand. Mm-hmm. Because some people, like you said, I'm sure you get it. Like, oh, again, why did you leave? Or what do you like? This and that. And well, again, like if those people don't see it, I'm not saying they're not fans. It's just like they're gonna come around to it. Meaning, like, they'll realize probably later on, like, oh, okay, I get what she's doing now.
Yeah, and if they don't, I mean, that's okay, too.
Yeah, like, I just think it's like everyone's different. Everyone thinks differently. But I think for me, I understand that people, like I said, I understand the people that, in your realm of age group and generation of what they're doing now. Because I feel like my older age group was able to build those tools, those platforms for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, so I guess like what I'm saying is like I'm understanding. Like I get it, and I like it, and I enjoy it, and just seeing you shine that way is just like, wow, that's dope.
Thank you.
And it really is, and it's inspiring me. Like I said, like I told you outside the podcast of what I'm transitioning to, and it's like it just gives me a little bit more like I want to say comfort, but just like a little bit more
hope. You should be excited for your next chapter. Yeah.
Right, and I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. It's just more like and it's funny. It's a connection from soccer. You know what I mean? Like I said, again, we met through soccer. You were playing soccer. Now it's like, oh, like this, and this. That's so dope.
Yeah, and I think being present in the moment, like don't think too far ahead of the future. I mean, that's why I think when you asked me a question about my future, I was like, I don't know, because I really want to be present. And I think towards the end of my career, I was super present. And I loved it because I embraced every moment, every game, every minute, every conversation. And then I left on a good note. I left super happy. Yeah. So I think now also I'm very present with my life.
I think for me it's just my my sign.
Your what?
I think it's my sign.
Oh, you're into horoscopes?
Yeah, because why I think about my future and have things planned.
Okay.
I think I read on my sign why that's what I do. So I'm a Capricorn. I guess that's what they do. It's like to plan certain things and make sure it's like, so that's why it's.
I don't really think I'm a Scorpio, but I have no idea about horoscopes.
Which is fine. I've delved into
stars.
A
I don't know.
It's fine. Like I just read what caught my eye and I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense. So that's like I just look it up here and there, and then when I read it, I'm like,
you're like,
wow, okay.
That's
I'm like,
why.
yeah. So it's like again, transitions. Like I get it in some way. Like I'm understanding it more and more coming from you. And like again, I think I have like that type of connection with you to like understand that more and more. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but cool. Okay. Let's see. Jen, how are you doing? Are we good?
Yeah.
Are you good? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still going. We're almost there.
No, yeah, I'm good.
We're almost there. Yeah. I don't get to talk to you about this a lot too much, and I don't know how to say. When you look at the women's game. Like you told me how it's growing, you told me how you feel about it. How do you think just the structure of it is in a sense of because you went through the college route. Mm-hmm. And this is just more of a question because the way I see it from the men's side, and I don't remember if I asked you this on the first podcast. Maybe I did, but I want to get more into detail with it. Do you feel like the women's side specifically is a lot better structured for women to lead them towards profession and have an understanding of college? I don't know if you get I guess what I'm trying to say is like, does that dynamic work out here? Because again, I don't know too much of the dynamic, which I should have done.
Are you talking about like college? Like
yeah, because
I think the recruiting process is the same for men and women, or for girls and boys.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is like Europe. Have you been to Europe?
I have.
Have you? How old were you?
It was with the national team, so I went 2 years ago.
Like you played a game and then you just had a game there? Or?
Yeah, it was a tournament.
Have you ever been there, like visiting culture wise? Okay, so this is what let me try to paint a picture for you. When I went to Europe, I went for like maybe 12 days, and it was pretty quick. I didn't like the way it was set up, but I was in Europe for the first time. I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm here. Like this is Europe. Let me enjoy it either way. The first day I was there, I was in London. I was able to take a tour at the Chelsea Stadium.
Wow.
And it was pretty cool.
Super cool.
And it's one of the things, again, I grew up soccer. Like, we grew up watching Europe players first. And I was like, cool, I'm here. I'm enjoying it, sinking it, like, just enjoying every little moment. And what dawned on me in a so cool way is that it made me just appreciate and love more. Again, I'm gonna get to my point. It made me appreciate more of like seeing, like at that time, this was like 6-7 years ago when I went. I saw women really like into understanding the Premier League. And that was the first time in my life where I was just like, yo, like, what? Like, I want to meet girls that know stuff like this. And just general, not like anything, just general.
About soccer.
About soccer. Like they were speaking to me like
they
I would talk to my
soccer.
brothers that they just really knew. And I'm like
Yeah.
at all. And I don't even know this person in front of me. And she's explaining everything. And not just because it was like a tour guide job, but like she was explaining things like I didn't think she would know, and she knew.
Why would I think she would know?
Not like in a disrespectful way, but more like, oh shit, you know who this person is, you know who that, like, yo, I know this, like, you know, you're a tour guide, but at the same time, you're giving it to me in a sense where like you actually know.
Of course, I think she's obviously a soccer fan, so I think.
So I guess where I'm trying to get at is like going to my point. The culture there is soccer first.
Oh yeah.
So what I'm saying is like when you were growing up, I don't know if I'm not sure if you think this way. Like out here, we have so many options.
Mm-hmm.
We have baseball, we have basketball, we have softball. Like, I'm sure they have something like that over there, but over there, their main, obviously in Europe, their main sport is soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Over here on the
There's
men's
so
side,
many, yeah.
on the men's side, it's like American football,
Mm-hmm.
and then anything else if you can dive into. And in women's, I think it was soccer,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm right, like
Yeah.
because we don't have a women's like American football team. Like we don't have those things.
We have Angel City, but yeah.
No, I mean
Recently.
American football. Like there's no like, you know what I mean? Like what I'm trying to get at is like, I don't want to like scramble with this question.
It's
Is
okay.
that it's
Take your
like
time.
you growing up as a woman, like seeing the aspect of like, hey, like I grew up the culture of like either soccer or softball. I don't know if you played any of the sports. I forgot if I ever asked you that. Did you play any of the sports?
I did when I was little. Yeah.
What other sport was it?
It was. I mean, I did ballet and then I did volleyball.
Ballet, I remember that. So like, again, just from volleyball, like you had another avenue of like possibly being a volleyball player somehow, you know. But again, you dove and you realized you were good at this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in Europe, it's really driven hard that soccer's like
It's a soccer country.
You know
for
what
sure,
I mean?
Yeah.
So the question I was trying to get at, that's why I had to say it that way. Is like, do you ever see yourself looking back growing up? It's like, wow, like out here, it was really like an option. I had options that really helped me understand what I really wanted to do, as opposed to like, this is putting it down your throat. It's a soccer or nothing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you see yourself
Okay.
like, you kind of get what I'm getting at? It's like,
Yeah.
I had an option to be a doctor, or I had an option to do that. I'm not saying women don't have that in Europe. I'm just saying like, I was so fascinated the way I was speaking to this person
Mm-hmm.
about football. And I'm just like, yo, you made me feel so comfortable talking to you about like anything of soccer, as opposed to me feeling like, hey, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think with that specific situation, I think she was just a soccer fan. I understand that it's in Europe, so I think it's huge. Soccer, that's a soccer country for sure, or like whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I think there's so many girls like that here too that grew up with that soccer mindset. But like you said with your other question, I think here in the U.S. it's super open with sports, so you're not kind of driven to one specific, like for example soccer. I wasn't like pushed towards that. Obviously I have a Hispanic background, so big soccer family, but a lot of my cousins play football, a lot of them play baseball, stuff like that. So I think here in the U.S. it's really like diverse, like you said, and then in Europe, soccer.
So now that you answer that, do you think that's, I'm not saying an issue, but do you think that's some type of like, because again, for the women's side, I can't even fathom or understand to be in a women's shoes of understanding, I guess, this kind of question, because what I'm trying to say in the men's side, it's like, again, I played American football, but I also grew up playing soccer. So it was more of like an option. Like, hey, do I pick this one or do I pick this one? Is it like for women, again, please correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like the women's U.S. soccer team was like a big inspiration and push for women to play more soccer.
Oh yeah, of course.
You get what I'm saying? Like, is that a thing? Do you think that that's a thing because of those inspirations? Like,
Yeah, I think those little moments are huge for not only just women's soccer, but just soccer in general. So I think that was super cool. Yeah, definitely push more people to to watch women's soccer, and obviously the little girls to be like, hey, I can be there one day too.
Yeah, definitely. No, yeah, because again, if you ever go to Europe, I'm sure, like you said, like she was a fan, but like there was a few other people that I met, and it was just like, I'm like in soccer heaven.
Were you surprised that she knew anything about soccer?
I wasn't surprised. Again, like it was more of like, it was just more of like her personality of like how she knew. Like someone can just tell you things. You're like, oh, okay, you know it because you told me. Like I didn't take her as a tour guide. I took her as like, yo, you know your shit.
She's a soccer fan.
Like,
right.
Like you know your shit from the Premier League of like understanding who is this and why is this and who are like certain things like I knew that the people around me didn't even know. And
yeah,
like
soccer fans they know their stuff.
Yeah, so like again, it was just more of her out there is what I'm saying. Is like it's so driven to a point where I'm like, I can just turn my head and speak the English Premier with the person if I'm in London or England. The same thing when I was in France, because I visited France and Germany, and those people that knew English were just like, I was like, yo, I was just so fascinated that the cultures and the world and the environment is literally switched big time, you know. And that's what I guess what I was trying to ask. Like you kind of answered most of it, is that I feel like maybe the women's side is just switched in a way that I would never know, because I obviously I'm not a woman. It's just like like I said, growing up watching the U.S. women's win the World Cups over and over, as me watching the Patriots win the Super Bowl all the time, or the men's soccer barely getting to the World Cup. So like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh, do I want to just stick to football and like football, or like you get what I'm saying now? Like that's what I was trying to understand, and like lead to the main question of like, do you think now that I'm sure I know where this probably answer is going to, the women's league that's growing and growing more, that you think we could have like a superior sport for women that is soccer over almost any other sport?
Ask that one more time. Sorry.
Do you think, because the way the leagues are growing for women, especially out here in the States, do you believe that it could be the women's superior sport over other sports? Like I said, out here, I think men's sport is considered American football. So do you think soccer is that for women?
Great question. What do you think?
I think yes, ever since I've known just people from soccer. And now, like I said, that you and your teammates have opened up my eyes even more to dive into it. I think yes. I don't know if it's because I'm more interested in now, because I've known friends that played all sports that are women. They even played hockey, they played volleyball, they played basketball. Like like for a minute I thought I was like kind of neck and neck with basketball and soccer. Again, because women don't have an American football team, league, profession really. So it's like, that's what I'm trying to understand from a woman's perspective. Do you feel like, I think soccer is our sport in the States as opposed to softball?
Okay, well, from a woman's perspective, I think that I'm a girl's girl, so I feel like I don't think they should ever be looked at like soccer is superior than, I think every single sport in the U.S., like I know the women's basketball is growing so much. Like they're so cool. And then obviously women's softball here, the national team is killing it. And then volleyball, I haven't really seen much of. But yeah, I think it's cool to not put like soccer is like the superior in the US, I know what you're saying, but I think it's so cool to see like even like other like basketball advocates collab with like women's soccer advocates to like build like a great platform. Like there's this Instagram or kind of podcast called it's Highlight Her. Okay. So it basically highlights like every all the like athletes that are women and the girls that are in college, and it's just so cool to see like all the girls kind of like pushing every sport up.
Interesting. Okay, I get where you're coming from. I was just wondering if there was a pinpoint in the women's culture of sports of like which ones like.
It's hard. I mean, you have tennis, Serena Williams killing it.
Tennis. You're right.
Naomi, obviously soccer, love it. Everyone's killing it here, but and also the basketball, they're so good. All like studs. Yeah.
No, you're right. Again, I was just trying to get your perspective to having that final. Like, I finally kind of wanted to know like which one did women feel was like the sport to go to.
Couldn't tell you. It's a hard question.
I think now that you're saying it, like I feel a little bit more that way. But again, I think I don't know. I think in men's sports, always going to be men's American football somehow in some way.
It's a huge here. Yeah.
I think MLS is getting there. We've had this conversation with me and my brother. Like it's just a different league as opposed to Europe, because I don't know if you notice these type of things, or even, I'm not saying care or not, but like out here you don't get regulated.
Oh really?
Out here in every, like, I got to a point where watching the American sports is like more of a choice for me now. Like it's like I'll get to it. Like I'm a fan for the Cowboys, but it's like
that's not the first thing you're putting on.
It's like I know what's gonna happen. Like you're still a team here, as opposed to like in Europe. Like, yo, you guys can like dissolve. Like if you guys don't perform this season, you guys can go to the regulation and like keep going. Like that's an excitement and like just a feeling of like, okay, I'm gonna watch because like you guys are really doing something to like get to a certain point. Like you guys are really playing. Like you guys are really grinding, as opposed to like athletes here. I'm not saying they're like I don't even know the word, like just taking advantage of like their blessings. But it's like if you guys lose every season, you're in the worst team, you're still gonna play unless you're like the best player on the team or get traded. You know,
I think it's. I don't really have much to say on that, just because I don't know what the athletes are grinding. I don't know what they're doing, but yeah, as an organization, if you lose, I feel like it doesn't look too good, obviously. Right.
I just always wondered, again, from your perspective, if you ever thought that way when you played or not. Like again, like everyone's impact and like instinct of competitive is obviously different. You know what I mean? So from
sure.
From just diving into the details of each sport and stuff like that, I think soccer, for me in general, is one of the most amazing sport that I can really wrap my hand around.
In the world, yeah.
It's because it's followed by the world, and it's one of those things that's like...
Yeah, the World Cup is like, I think, one of the most watched.
I'm glad you brought that up. We got a few more minutes, so I wanna end it on a good note for you. Okay, we got a few more minutes. Can I get 10 minutes?
Of course.
Awesome. So let's start it off, because I'm glad you brought up the World Cup. I remember we were going back and forth. So this is more of the men's side, I guess you could say, because it's coming up. How do you feel about this whole? Because you're dual citizen. I'm glad you brought it up. How do you feel, and how do you express yourself from both sides? Like when it comes up, I know we were texting, or like when the Mexico USA game came up. How do you take that all in? What is your like? I gotta root for them. Or I gotta root for both.
Obviously born in the U.S. I grew up rooting for the U.S. I think obviously like the women's team too. But then once I put on that Mexican national team jersey, I was like, nope, rooting for Mexico the rest of my life.
That's it.
Yeah.
That was a firm decision.
Yes, but also obviously if the U.S. is playing, I mean, other countries, of course I'm going to go for the U.S. I don't know. I think for me, putting on that jersey, it just gives you a different feeling for sure.
Yeah.
So definitely rooting for Mexico, but I love being Mexican American. I think it's super cool to have that, dual citizenship that not all the people get to say they have. So I'm really blessed that I get to have that and have that heritage of, that Hispanic heritage. And my grandparents were born in Mexico, so I'm thankful for them that I got this dual citizenship.
That's dope. And how do you feel personally about, let's just say each team? How do you feel? Who do you? I mean, you're rooting for Mexico. How do you feel about their chances? How do you feel about the team now going into the World Cup?
I don't really know. I'm not like super detailed watching them, but they have great players. They have a great staff. I think they obviously play with so much passion every single time. It's Mexico. They always do. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm rooting for them, hoping for the best.
Yeah, I hope they do okay. I mean, you already know. I'm already rooting for who I'm rooting for, which I hope it happens. I hope Portugal wins.
Portugal.
Yeah.
Big Portugal guy.
I mean, I'm more of a Cristiano guy, and that's the reason why. But I think, just in my opinion, like I stuck with them, and hopefully
cool.
do it. Everyone, it's funny because like I always get asked this question. This is funny. Everyone always asks me like, "What? You're American and Mexican. Why didn't you root for Mexico?" I was like, well, here's the thing, dude.
You don't have to. You're not like obligated to. You can do whatever.
But I answer this in a way where like, look, I get that, but I grew up watching European football.
Gotcha.
And all the best players that I grew up watching didn't play in Mexico. It's not that it was anything wrong. It's just like I had favorite players at the time that were in Mexico. I liked the team, but I don't know. I'm a player fan over a team. And so like certain players that just grasped me, I was just like, I'm going for that guy. And
like Ronaldo.
Yeah. So Ronaldo, again, like I said, the past 15 years, it was like Real Madrid, Juventus, and now Manchester United and Portugal. So it's like, I'm just going to root for this guy because he's done a lot. You know what I mean? And that's like,
he's the GOAT.
How are you changing your mind now? Is he the GOAT?
I think Messi's the GOAT too. I think they're great players.
I mean, we can cut it here, right? Can I ever change your mind?
I think they're both really good. I don't know. They're both the GOATs.
But she's still a Messi fan.
I don't know. After watching, so I watched the Georgina documentary.
Oh, yeah. Did you?
Super cool. Yeah, it was cool to see. Like,
it was
her
interesting,
lifestyle.
huh?
Yeah, super interesting.
Oh, man. I watched it.
It was really cool.
Yeah, she has an interesting life. She really does.
She has a great life.
She has an interesting life. It's great, but it was pretty interesting how, like, I was watching all that. I'm just like,
isn't it crazy?
I was like, wow. I was like,
you guys should watch it. It was really
no, I've
good.
seen it. I've seen it like multiple
I was
times.
telling your viewers.
Yeah, you guys should. It's pretty good. But yeah, going with that, the World Cup. So you think Mexico's gonna do pretty good?
I hope so.
I mean, I hope so too for my dad because obviously he's Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
We have these arguments, these fun arguments. But yeah, I mean, they should do good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We got a few more time. Let's end it with something fun.
Yay.
So Jen, again, thank you for coming. Appreciate you. I'm excited for everything you're doing. I'm excited for that show.
Thank you. Super excited.
I'm really like looking forward to it and everything you do. And yeah, just tell me what's next. Tell me what you look forward to if you want to tell. I mean, I'm sure certain stuff are secret. Like, I'll wait till I do it. But what are you looking forward to next? Like, what is Jen really like? Again, I know you don't want to look into the future, like you said earlier. You're just going with the flow. You want to do things. But what are some things that even just simple things like, I want to just visit this area. I think I'm going to go to that country. Like, what's next for Jen in that sense?
I would love to go to Greece.
Yeah,
but no, I think right now I want to travel. I want to focus on my projects right now. Yeah, I think it's almost going to be summer, perfect weather. I don't know. I feel like with me, it's kind of like day by day, obviously. So it's like, okay, I have this today, I have this tomorrow. Some days I'm like super busy. Like some weeks I'm like packed every single day.
I know that.
And other weeks I'm like, I have nothing to do.
Really?
So I think it's a good balance for me right now. Just to kind of have that balance and, work, and then have a week where I can travel, or one weekend where I leave LA and I go, with my friends. So it's a very good balance.
You're really giving me like a lot of information that I need for myself.
Good.
No, you really are. No, sure. Like I said, like the transition I told you about earlier, like it's really helping me right now. Mm-hmm. Like just talking to you about it, it's like, okay, I got to prepare myself in some way. Like, yeah,
I mean, obviously we do different stuff, but I feel like it's the same.
It's similarities of like, like you said, like gigs and stuff that you get to do and stuff like, yeah. So it's like, it's definitely opening a lot of my ideas and understanding of what's next.
Super fun though. I mean,
it's
fun to be busy.
I'm taking this next chapter into like a good feel for it, and even just things I noticed. Like I'm the type of person where I'm like, okay, that happened for a reason. Like earlier,
100%. Everything happens for a reason.
Like earlier it just happened for a reason. With that whole text and everything. Like I'm just gonna say like it happened for a reason. So it's like things I got to move forward towards. You know what I mean? It's like things happen. I think like I see it as like, God's telling me something. Go ahead, dude. Like I got to move this for you so you can go do this.
Of course.
You know
and
what
I think
mean?
I have a really good story. On my Snapchat memories, the day that I called my manager to tell her like, listen, like this is my last season. A year later, so obviously a few weeks ago, I was looking at like my memories, and that day I had a really big like business meeting, and it went really well, and like I would have never have gotten there without doing or like making that decision. So it was like a year later I'm at this meeting, and that was the day where a year before I called my manager and I was like, hey, listen, like this is what's happening. But yeah, it's not crazy. I think everything is a blessing, and I think like you said, everything happens for a reason, and people come in your life for a reason, they leave for a reason. But I just think you have to think of life like super positive.
Yeah.
Obviously, shitty things happen. That's life. But like, for example, like you were saying, like the text, but like you shouldn't let that, affect your day or like whatever. Right. And like,
which it didn't,
I've learned
which I think
so
went smooth
much.
today. I think
no,
you
did
fine.
really, no, good job. Killing it.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's crazy how like life is sometimes.
Yeah, no. And I'm kind of glad you brought up the, I guess I kind of want to end it with this because I know you brought up, when you spoke to your manager in America. I know can you speak on the show that's coming up? The America one?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. But they're making a documentary.
That's all I want. And you're going to be in it.
I don't know.
We'll have to wait and find out then, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. That's fine. But yeah, all right. So yeah, Jen, just let me let you end it on a good note. What do you want to tell any viewers? What do you got going on? What do you feel like you want the soccer world to know that's in Jen's life in a nutshell?
Wow, that's a
In a nutshell.
that's a huge question. Well, I would want to say thank you for following me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for still supporting me off the field. I hope that the girls win the championship this year.
Oh, that's right. They're going in the playoffs.
They're going to the playoffs.
That's right.
Sending good vibes over to them, and Vamos America.
How often do you watch the games?
Yep.
Yeah.
Every game.
I was actually going to try to go to the TJ game, but it didn't fall through.
Okay.
But hopefully next time, because that was the closest there were. It was like a 2-hour drive, but it didn't fall through.
That's the closest.
Yeah, I was like, darn. And it was like a 2-2 game. It was pretty good.
It was a good game. Yeah, I was watching it on TV.
Yeah. How do you, real quick how do you feel about the new coaching there and everything that they're doing?
Oh, they're amazing. I think their trainer is amazing. Smart people, smart coach. Craig is from here. Yeah. So I think he brought a lot of really great tactics from the U.S. to Mexico, which has helped, obviously. Mm-hmm. Their new group of girls, amazing. They're killing it. Yeah. I think every single one of the girls has improved so much, whether it's, on the field, like physically, they look great. I think that's the best I've ever seen them play.
Awesome. They should do good. I think they're going to pretty far. Like I said, I talked to some of your ex-teammates. I would love them to win. But for some reason, I don't know, Tigres is like the team. Mm-hmm. But I think they can do it.
Of course.
I want them to do it. So, all right, Jen, just tell our viewers where they can find you on social media and when they're there.
Where can they? Oh, find me on Instagram at Jen J Munoz /Z. Don't look at my TikTok. You don't need to follow me on that.
Why?
I'm just kidding. Yeah, follow me on Instagram. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys. So that's it. Again, I want to appreciate Jen for being so patient with me today.
Of course.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This was a long. This was past due. We wanted you here in person, and thank you for doing that.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And yeah, thank you to the viewers. Like every time at the end, follow and subscribe. And until next time, we're out. Thank you.